Beyond Economics and Back. Tinklalaidę rengia Lietuvos Laisvosios rinkos institutas. Hello, welcome to the podcast Beyond Economics and Back. With me, Elena Leontjeva, the president of the Lithuanian Free Market Institute. Today, my guest is Francisco Capella.
Hello.
Who studied physics, biology, lectured on intersection of various disciplines. Please, Francisco, introduce yourself. I know that you like to be named Paco.
Yeah. Francisco is like my official name, but Paco is like the nickname for all Franciscos in Spain. Francisco Capella, I am from Madrid in Spain, and I am a founding member of Instituto Juan de Mariana, which is a free market libertarian or classical liberal think tank in Spain. And I'm also a founding member of Universidad de las Hespérides, which is a new, very recent from last year, online university, which is online but based on the Canary Islands, also in Spain. And I studied physics, astrophysics, like a lifetime ago. But then I grew interested in other things. I studied also artificial intelligence and knowledge engineering. I also formally studied economics, Austrian economics. I discovered Austrian economics. And on my own, I've read a lot about biology, evolution, psychology, and also morality, ethics, moral philosophy.
Great. So in the intersection of all those disciplines, we will find something new today.
Sure, I hope.
Welcome to the journey.
Thank you.
Paco, when we look at a human being as an autonomous being with energy, how can we apply this understanding to better understanding economic action of man? Mm-hmm. Because frequently we view economics as a separate science of numbers, but we want to reconnect it with the reality of a human being.
Economics, as Ludwig von Mises explains, is the study of human action. But I go even further. I say economics is a subfield of biology. All living beings act. There is a definition that living beings are autopoietic autonomous agents. Agents mean that they act. They are dynamic. They are not inert like a brick or like this table. So they need energy. They need materials. They need resources in order to act. If you know thermodynamics, it can be explained, but that will go too deep. Autonomous means that they are in control of something, that they have a control system. That's what we have a mind, we have cognition, we think and we feel, we have emotion, we have interests. And autopoietic means that they create themselves. Poiesis is the Greek for creation, for producing. So living beings produce themselves, they maintain themselves, they create themselves. So there is action in all life, there is action.
And we are different from animals?
Of course, we are animals. We are living beings, and living beings you can have bacteria, you can have fungi, you can have plants, you can have animals, and we are a particular kind of animal. We have culture. We are symbolic, we have language, we learn quite a lot, more than other animals, and we evolve more rapidly, especially because of the cultural part.
And we have reason?
We have reason, we can think. That doesn't mean that animals cannot think at all. It means that we can think, I say, more. We have more memory, more capacity to calculate, more imagination.
And we are aim-seeking?
We are aim-seeking, but animals are also aim-seeking. I like to provoke people. Even a toilet is aim-seeking in the sense that it has a control system. It has an end state when the water fills the tank, or your air conditioning system. It's aim-seeking. You set the temperature, and then the system tries to achieve that temperature by cooling or by heating. But we are goal-seeking in a much more sophisticated way, much more complex way.
And I think our goal-seeking defines really who we are, and it connects very well with our studies of lag, because it explains why we are not satisfied with the situation as it is, because to have aim, to raise some new aim, means to be unsatisfied, to see the possibility to improve things, to do things different way.
I would say that is already in biology, the notion of lack of need, because as I said, in order to act, you need resources. Once you run out of energy or of free energy, you cannot continue acting. But in humans, that is much more sophisticated. There is not only like the physical, chemical part of the action, there is the mental part. The mental part, we plan and we desire, we imagine. So we see things in our minds and we want them. So when we want them, it's because we don't have them, so we lack them. We might also say that we need them. So lack is obviously there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And how it relates to economic action and to profit seeking or seeking to have some surplus. Mm-hmm. As an energetic being, I understand that I have to create more energy than I use when I'm toiling, right?
Yeah.
And is it very normal? Is it normal for every animal?
Yeah, of course, that's in biology. But as I said, economics is biology. All animals, if I am a lion and I go hunting zebras, I am spending energy. The zebra is going to, when I eat the zebra, I'm going to get energy and materials. But what if hunting the zebra, while hunting the zebra, I spend more energy than I get? In that case, I would be obtaining a loss, and I would have less energy, and I will reach a minimum where I die, where I get sick or I die. I cannot continue acting. So all living beings have to economize. They have to consider. They have to consider, how do I spend the resources I have? They have to choose what they do. They have to act. They can act in different ways. They can say, "Oh, I'm too tired today," or "That zebra is too healthy, too agile, and I won't reach that zebra." So they have to make some kind of calculation. Am I expecting to obtain a profit, or is it possible that I obtain a loss? And again, profit is good because you get more of what you wanted, which is what you need to stay alive, to survive and to reproduce. But if you obtain losses and losses and losses, eventually you will cease to exist. You will die.
So in a way, all of us are entrepreneurs. And we all have to economize in our kitchen, in our household. Everyone, even if he or she does not consider himself as an entrepreneur, but we optimize, economize, we seek to get more out of less.
Yeah.
Right?
I would say all action is economic action because it uses resources and it can use them in different ways. So better, more efficient or less efficient for this goal or for that goal. And sometimes there are mistakes. Sometimes you achieve what you want. Other times you don't. The entrepreneurial part is more human because entrepreneurship is like launching yourself into the unknown, doing something new, something creative, something innovative. If you are doing the same thing as always, I wouldn't call you an entrepreneur. But entrepreneur is someone who goes on an adventure. Actually, the term comes from French and it means like an adventure, like an exploration. So whenever you are thinking, could I do this better? What can I offer other people? Or what can I do with my life? You're being an entrepreneur.
So what new can we bring into understanding of economic theory based on reconsidering who we are and what our action means for our sustainable survival?
Well, what new? It depends on what people already know. There's a problem in economics that economics is often like seen as things that, well, that doesn't affect me. That only has to do with what businesses do. That only has to do with numbers, with equations, with mathematical models. Economics is only for professional economists. No, economics is for you. It's for everybody. Once you understand what it is about, you will learn a lot about yourself. About
how you operate, why you operate.
Why do I do what I do? Why do I want these things and not these other things? How can I build a better life? Not only for me, but for others. Why do humans live in society? Because of economics, because of specialization and trade, because we can do more things together than we would do if we were alone.
And is it correct to make an analogy between human cooperation and animal cooperation?
Of course. In action, there are two possibilities. When two agents act, you can cooperate, do something together for the good of both, or you can compete. One does something against the other. This doesn't mean that you have to fight or that you have to destroy.
It does not mean hunting.
It could mean hunting. The lion competes with the zebra. The zebra wants to stay alive, and the lion wants to feed on the zebra. But for instance, two squirrels. The squirrels want nuts, and they go pick up the nuts. And once a squirrel picks up one nut, that nut is not available for the other squirrel, so they are competing for the nuts. The same way that businesses are competing for clients, or the same way that a man is two different men are competing for the same woman for her attention and to be their couple. Mm-hmm.
But we, different from animals, we also have moral virtues. We have culture. You started with a culture, so it makes our cooperation and even competition different.
Actually, morality right now, there is a science of morality, which is quite a recent invention from the end of the 20th century. Instead of, morality being seen as a sermon from priest or your father or your mother telling you what you have to do, scientists have begun to study morality. And they have discovered that morality is a tool for cooperation. All the rules of morality, all what they tell you have to do or what you cannot do, if it is properly interpreted, it is in order to protect and promote cooperation, so that you are a good cooperator, so that people don't cheat, that they don't betray you, that they don't become parasites or predators.
And we are different also from animals because we have an incredible tool of cooperation, which is an exchange.
Yeah.
And in exchange, many people would make an analogy with hunting and see it like if one party wins, another party loses. But this is not the case.
Well, there is also the version Aristotle and others said in exchange, people exchange equals. And say, no, why would I exchange equals? There is something called a transaction cost. Why should I go through the transaction cost if I'm going to get the same that I have? In exchange, when you understand it properly, you are doing it because you benefit, and the other person is doing it because they benefit, at least if the exchange is free and voluntary. So this idea that in order to exchange, someone has to lose and the other someone has to win and then the other has to lose, is completely wrong.
But sometimes people say because energy is scarce, if energy was created somewhere, it had to disappear somewhere. So they overlook the miracle of exchange when the new energy is created just because we value different things different way.
Of course.
And the value was created without toiling, without, sweating. Just because we exchange things, the value that Paco got from me was increased and my value was increased.
Of course. We share a human nature. We share some features that are common. We can think, we have emotions, but the details of the people under circumstances, they're different. So what I like or what is good for me may not be the same of what you like or what is good for you. And I may have, for instance, the typical example. I have 2 apples, but I'm satisfied with just 1 apple. You have 2 books, but you are okay with just 1 book. Hey, I exchange your apple for my apple for your book. Now we're better off. No one has lost anything. We have obtained a benefit. We have both profited.
So did you succeed in explaining to your students that exchange is a plus-sum game?
I think yes, because many of our students are free market-oriented people. But sometimes it's hard because people have ideological biases or political biases, and they don't want to accept the truth. Because that's a feature of human nature that when I learned it, I was like surprised, but I said, okay, this explains a lot. People deceive themselves. There are some truths that are inconvenient, and some lies or some ideas that are false or absurd are good as honest, costly signals of belonging to a group. Like, for instance, it's not ideas, but if you support a football team, you have the shirt. That's a signal who you support, and then you know who are your friends and the others are your enemies. Well, the same happens with ideas. With humans, ideas are very important. So there are political beliefs or even religious beliefs or other kinds of beliefs that we use to form groups, and then we adhere to those ideas even if they're wrong, even if they're absurd, because those ideas prove that we belong to the group and we cannot give up those ideas.
So do many people like to feel that they are victims in this life, that the life is organized in an unjust way, and therefore it is difficult for them to accept the plus-sum game of exchange? Of course, we must admit that sometimes exchange is not a plus-sum game. Sometimes people truly can cheat and steal and manipulate, but this is not an institutional rule of the exchange. This is important.
Yeah.
It happens, but it's not institutionalized.
Yeah, it's not essential for exchange. Yeah. First, victims exist. I mean, the same way there is aggression, and there are victims in biology. The zebra would be a victim of the lion. Humans can kill each other, can steal from each other, can hijack or oppress or rape other people. So the nature of the market, of the free exchange in the market, it is supposed to be peaceful and voluntary and respectful of other people's property. You make a proposal of exchange, but the other person can reject. I'm sorry, I'm not interested. But then, as we spoke about morality exists so that victims don't exist, or at least they are minimized and the aggressors are punished. But once morality exists, people can cheat and pretend they are victims, or exaggerate their status of victims. And then I touch you and say, Paco has hate me a lot. This is just like children do it all the time. And there are psychological experiments that prove that we do this naturally. When someone does something bad to us, we exaggerate it. Honestly, not. And
when we do harm to another, we
say, that wasn't so bad. But then the victim said, that was horrible. And so there is this possibility of cheating, and since we sympathize with victims, because we do, that's what morality is about, then people say, okay, I'm going to play the victim. And then they play the victim and they demand compensation, and then we have to start thinking, are they really victims or not? And for me, it's horrible, because then there are true victims who are not protected and false victims who get help when they shouldn't.
Yeah, and it's incredible that we have this gift of free exchange, which allows us to continue our autonomous and energetic living without using force against others. So when I practice morality and I care about the morality of my action, I can be sure that exchange in itself is a good institution which allows both of us to increase value.
One of the things that makes us humans different and much more powerful and successful than other animals is that we have culture, symbolism, all that. But this other thing is exchange, the possibility to have markets. Because as Adam Smith explained and other economists have said, if you can exchange, you can specialize. And if you specialize, you practice the division of labor, you become much more productive. And then you are wealthier, you are more powerful. If we were not able to exchange, please think of what your life would be if you had to do everything yourself. This microphone wouldn't exist. This table might exist, but it would take me like many days to produce this. The glass would not exist. I would have to go get water on my own. There have been stories and experiments of economists. I'm going to make a toaster to toast bread. It took them like tens of thousands of dollars to build a toaster on their own. And it was not really on their own, because they used stuff that had been produced by
material.
Others. So exchange is wonderful. The possibility of exchange is wonderful. And when people criticize exchange, they are impoverishing humanity.
And one resource that we did not mention is time.
Of course.
So even if it costed $1,000, most important is that it costed
a lot of time,
hundreds of hours of our time, which we could not allocate to other needs or to our passion, to our creativity, right?
And as they say, time is the only thing that you cannot make more of. Because we can make more of other things, but the day has 24 hours, and it's not going to have more because you do I don't know what.
And what about the saying, time is money? Good money is also money that is scarce and which, as time, we could not multiply.
Yeah.
But still, the main passion of humanity is to overcome the scarcity of money and to make more of money, which makes money bad money.
Scarcity is a fact of life, like luck. I came here because you invited me to your seminar on luck, which is the same as or similar to lack, need, scarcity, incompleteness, imperfection. And we fight against luck, even if we recognize it. We must recognize that it is a reality. it is something bad that motivates our action, and we want to overcome it, or we want to alleviate it. So we want more of things. We want more of goods. That's what goods are. We want more of them, or not only goods, material things, but also services. And then we think, okay, this thing that we use for exchange, because we have only spoken about exchange, but then we haven't explained how does exchange happen. Exchange can happen through barter. You give me your glass, I give you a book or whatever.
Yeah, the book that we exchanged to an apple.
But if we did that, there is a problem which is called the double coincidence of wants. You have to want exactly what I have to want exactly what you have, and that is very difficult. Then people in the market discovered that there are some special goods that were more easily saleable, more easily marketable, and they were used as indirect means of exchange. Instead of exchanging directly, which seems more sensible, let's exchange directly. Sometimes it's less efficient. If you use a thing that we call money, that is an indirect means of exchange, we can become much more productive. And then people think, okay, if we have more goods, we will be happier, wealthier, more powerful. Let's have more money. Let's produce more money. And I said, that's not a good idea, because money is just abstract value. But that abstract value has to be like backed or represented by something real. The money is real, but I mean that is directly useful. The book, the apple, the glass. If you produce a lot of money, but you don't simultaneously produce a lot of goods, you have not become wealthier. You just have deluded yourself. You have deceived yourself. And then that's what happens when what we have then is inflation. The price in money of goods rises.
Yeah,
we were dumb to think, let's produce more money so that we are richer. You are not richer.
And interesting that people do not feel the expansion of money, but they only feel it through the price increase.
Of course,
the prices, they are hurting, and the money increase, it looks good number.
Because almost nobody knows how much money is there out there in the economy. You just see, okay, what price do I have to pay for this? Do I go to the market? Oh, wow, this is cheap or this is expensive. That's what you see.
But even intuitively, people would think, if I have more money in my purse, it's better. Mm-hmm. So if there are more money for all purses, it's also better.
Also better. If that came together with there being more goods, yes. But when it does not, so money must grow at the same speed, more or less, I'm simplifying, as the amount of goods and services grows, so that it can keep its purchasing power stable. Mm-hmm.
And the banking system, it also troubles people. And there are many theories what kind of banking would be sound and sustainable, and there would not be bank runs. What is your view on the sound banking system, and what is the main challenge for the banks today, especially as money go far and far from the ideal money?
Let me tell you a brief personal story. Like 20 years ago or something, before the crisis of 2007, 2008, I knew very little or nothing about money, banking, finance. I recognize it. I mean, I don't have time. I don't know whether I want to read about that. I have specialized in like physics, biology, psychology, economics in general, but not money. But then I said, okay, I have to learn about this because I want to be able to understand why this crisis has happened. Many people are suffering. There are huge losses in the economy. And then I started reading and I learned, wow, this is important and people don't understand it. Even professional economists don't understand it. Even professional economists with Nobel Prizes give completely wrong advice. Completely wrong. Once we use money, we are doing okay, but then someone can come with the idea, well, money has to be produced. It is costly, gold coins and silver coins. Could we use money substitutes or money complements? And one of them is debt. Instead, there is also a academic debate. Did exchange begin with money or with barter, with money? What is the origin of money? Barter or debt? Because you can use debt in some relationships. I do you a favor, and then you say, you owe me one. We don't know how much you owe me, but we more or less appreciate. If I give you a lot of help, very costly, and then later you do me a very small favor, I say, I don't trust you anymore, Elena, I don't like you. We have this, we can more or less estimate debt. Balance
our relationship.
And the thing about debt is that you are in debt, I am the creditor, you are the debtor, but then you give it back to me, and maybe you give more, and now I am the debtor, you are the creditor. So debt can be created and destroyed, and it can be exchanged. Banks produce, they issue their own debt in the form of banknotes and deposits, and they offer it to the people so that they use it as a money substitute. So that with what you have in the bank is an account, which means that the bank owes you some money. But you don't claim it from the bank, you transfer it to other people. You use it to pay, and other people pay you. This is a very good system, but there is a problem with that. That debt has to be like solid. It has to be very trustworthy. The bank, here you have to learn accounting. I'm sorry if I explain things quickly. I would encourage people to learn about accounting, banking, and finance. If the asset side of the bank's balance sheet, if what the bank has does not have enough value, enough certainty, enough quality, then what the bank owes might not be paid in case it is claimed. And that is what happens with the current banking system. That the state is making banks behave imprudently.
Give too many loans. Regulation.
They are called prudent regulations, and they are not really prudent. Because banks are always encouraged, lower your interest rates. The interest rate, by the way, is not the price of money. It is the price of time, of the price of waiting. I give you 1,000 now, you give me 1,100 in 1 year or whatever the amount is, because you have to wait to get the money back. You could use that money and you have given it up to me. So banks, the state is always pushing the banking system to be imprudent. And that's why we have economic crisis. Because I don't want to enter into the details because they would be too complicated, but if the market, if there were a free market in money and banking, there would be no crisis, or there will be relatively mild. But the problem is that the whole banking system is pushed by intervention to be imprudent. And if it is imprudent, eventually it will become illiquid and insolvent, and it will crash down. And that's what crises are, that some part of the banking or financial system breaks down, and there a lot of people lose a lot of money.
Yeah, but this is not our forecast today. We just discuss theoretical issues, but I want to come back to the question how money evolved, because it's really a big theoretical question for the scholars. Did money evolve as a government's or a ruler's decree and a stamp, or did money evolve on the market through exchange, as you started to explain how barter led to some commodity becoming more commonly acceptable, and also more commonly friendly, because money was very friendly, easy to carry, easy to count, and so on. So what would be your response?
There are like two schools of thought, basically. The first one you mentioned is called the chartalists, that they say that money is a creation of the state. Only because the state decrees it, something is money, something becomes money, because the state forces people to use it as money. Then there is our theory of the Austrians and other economists, which was born with Karl Menger, one of the fathers of the Austrian school, which says money is a product of the natural evolution of a spontaneous order in the market. It doesn't need the state to centrally tell everybody, hey, you use money, you use this as money. And he gives other examples. Language. Language is not created by the state. Language, kids don't go to, there is no state that exists and nobody speaks, and then the state says, you're going to use language. I'm going to explain language to you. And no, language evolves spontaneously. And the other one is law. This is the one more difficult to accept or understand, because legislation now comes from the state.
Still, it evolved as norms that are necessary.
Yeah. But we could have law produced in interactions via contracts.
Yes.
But we don't need the state, or we need it much less than people think. So my idea is that both origins have part of truth. It is hard to know historically what happens because there is very little historical evidence. And because when people are acting, they don't bother about, I'm going to leave this in writing for the future, or I'm going to explain this for the future. They just do what they do. So now we see legal documents where the state imposes or creates some money. So it's, this is evidence. Yeah, but you won't see evidence of people just using money on their own or creating it on their own, because they are not thinking about it. So it was probably both things, that the state sometimes intervened and says, okay, I'm decreeing that this will be money. Or the king says, I'm going to put my stamp on the coins with my name, so that you know that it is my power that guarantees that these coins are good, that there is this amount of gold or silver, or there is this purity. But that can also be made by important rich people, wealthy people. They don't have to be the king. So in that case, it would be the market. So it was probably the interaction of both. But it is important not to forget that the spontaneous origin is possible, and it is also probable. If people insist that it has to be the state, with what we know about how the state mismanages things, well, that's dangerous.
And in my experience, people frequently have psychological problems with understanding economic action. And in your experience, what are the most common psychological threats to people, and how it is related to ignoring lack as a fundamental principle?
Mm-hmm. I would go to what Hayek said, that we have a primitive mind. We have evolved a mind that is adapted to our conditions, maybe 10,000 years ago, maybe even more, tens of thousands of years ago. And thanks to culture, thanks to the market, thanks to economic growth, knowledge and technological and scientific knowledge accumulation, now we are much richer. We live in a very different world, but we still have a tribal mind. And what happened back then, that everything was static, things they don't change much. If one gained something, somebody might have to lose, because there was a lot of fighting and stealing and all that. So the market for many people is not instinctive. They have to sit down and think about it. Well, yeah, people can win without others losing. Also, there's the idea of spontaneous order. In a tribe, maybe the chief gave some order and everybody obeyed. But in the market, there are no big chiefs that control everything. There is no central planification. Actually, Mises and Hayek proved that central planification of the market cannot prove.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. They explain it in theory, and then the fall of the Soviet Union and how we see that regimes like Cuba, Venezuela, or North Korea work. But this doesn't work. It cannot work because our capabilities are limited, because we cannot process all the information, and we cannot, if we abolish markets, we will abolish the creation of new information. We will abolish entrepreneurship.
A side question: if artificial intelligence would be given this power, could they govern all the information?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I would need another 2 hours for it.
Because Hayek wrote that with the most impressive computers, we would not be able to calculate all information and process it. But now with artificial intelligence, does it create a hope that it is possible? Hope, I say like this.
Some people are saying that. They are wrong. There is the cyber communists. I have read their books, and I say, oh my God, you don't understand economics and you don't understand cybernetics and cognition. Because I'm going to put it like that. Imagine we go exploring the space and we discover other worlds, or in our own world, we go and explore a tribe, a very primitive tribe, and we watch them. And we gather data of what they do, what they produce. Since they are very basic and they are very primitive, and we don't interfere, we just watching that they don't know we are there, we might predict what they're going to do, because that's very simple. So we might have models. We don't need to plan their economy, but at least we understand it. The problem with the real economy is that it is much more complex, much more dynamic, And computers would not be used only to plan and model and predict the economy. They would also be used to produce the economy. So every enterprise or every agent would have its own artificial intelligence to try to plan strategically what to do. And this strategic planning sometimes implies that you want to fool others, to confuse them.
Competition you would be enhanced by...
And compete is not, I'm going to give you my business plan so that you can compete better. No, I'm going to hide my business plan. I don't want my enemies, my rivals to know my business plan.
Exactly.
So the problem is that the artificial intelligence cannot be kept out of the system. It is part of the system. Yes. And there is not only one artificial intelligence, there will be many, and they will be competing against themselves, sometimes also cooperating.
Yeah, and it will make change also very quick. You can adjust to any...
It will make change much faster.
Yeah.
It will make innovation much faster.
So the planner with his IE...
He cannot know.
He could not govern this.
Of course.
It would be another illusion.
The fact that artificial intelligence are very powerful does not mean that they are omnipotent. They will reach a limit. And beyond that limit, they just cannot do it.
And we come back to our fundamental phenomenon of lack.
Yeah. In that lack, they will lack computing power and knowledge, real knowledge. They may believe they have it. That's what central planners do. They gather data and they think they have it.
Yeah, the psychological pressures, and would comprehending that lack is a fundamental principle. It's not just my mistake or my unfortune, but that is a fundamental principle. Would it relieve some of our psychological tensions?
I at least hope so, because if you think that you are a victim or that you have horrible bad luck with you, and then that you are the only one that suffers luck with an A, I said, no, we all suffer luck. I would recognize some people suffer luck more than others. I mean, some people are hungry, some people are thirsty, some people are victims of oppression, they lack freedom. Other people, we in the Western world live better. But there is always luck. Because there's something that we haven't spoken, which is very important in humans. Humans care a lot about status, about reputation, about social standing. And that is a zero-sum game. The same we said, remember, we said that exchanges...
is not zero-sum.
Exchanges are not zero-sum game. They can be positive-sum game.
And status?
But status is zero-sum game.
Explain.
Because if I am higher than you, you are lower than me.
In your view. But maybe I have another qualities.
We can do it by competition. In sports, Carlos Alcaraz won. Carlos Alcaraz was #1 in Paris. Yannick Sinner was #2. So Carlos Alcaraz is #1, and he gets the prize. Then Yannick Sinner is #2. Then all the rest are lower and lower and lower. And it's not the same. You can think that you have a good reputation, but a reputation is not what you think. Yes. A reputation is what others think of you.
Right.
So people always want to have more. And if you have more, that means that in that competitions, others will have relatively less. I mean, everybody can be a better tennis player, but still at the end there will be only one winner of a competition. Everybody's playing tennis better.
Yes, it depends on the rules of the game.
Yeah.
If we have the rule of the game that we have one first position, then it's true. Mm-hmm. But if we evaluate our status according to fulfillment of our dreams, and our dreams are different. You can be #1 in your dream. I can be
but that's not
3
exactly
in my dream.
Yes, but that's not exactly status.
Okay.
That is self-worth.
Okay.
That is what you think of yourself.
Yeah.
But status is what other people think of you. So we want both things. We want, Abraham Maslow with the pyramid of wants and desires spoke about this. We want to be satisfied with our lives. We want self-realization. We want to grow, to be happy. But that is about me with myself. Status is what do other people think of me. And that is very important. Sometimes we say, and I think that this is imprudent, don't care about what other people think of you. What? If other people think I'm a criminal, they will not hire me for a job. If other people think I'm insolvent, they won't give me credit. If people think that I am a bad businessman, they won't do deals with me. If I'm a shopkeeper and my products are lousy and people know it, they won't come to my shop. So you have to care what other people think of you, because what people think guides their action.
But first of all, we have to care how we behave. If I hurt people all the time, of course it will hurt my reputation.
Of course.
But I care about the people, not about my reputation, first of all.
Psychologically, you probably care about the people, but what evolution and biology teach you is that emotion is in order to protect your status. Even if you're not thinking about your status is important. For instance, you would prefer not to feel guilt or shame because they are nasty feelings, but they are there to protect your status because you have done something that, or you are about to do, or you're considering doing something that would damage your status. And better
being
not do
good
it.
to other people is through status is considered as also my own benefit.
Yeah.
But for some people, still it is more important to behave according to moral virtues, not because of reputation, but because of...
Exactly. That's what I am saying. You don't have to think about your reputation. Your mind is thinking that if you do something, you will feel very bad because it is wrong. But that thinking that it is wrong is what protects your reputation. Even if you don't think about your reputation, your mind is protecting your reputation. Your emotions are there in order so that you are a good cooperator. Remember at the beginning of the talk, we said morality as cooperation.
Okay. So that this is like self-regulating mechanism developed by our cooperation.
For social coordination. So our minds have made us social beings. So when Austrians say our minds make us gold-following actors, purposeful. Yes, but not only that. We are that in society, with other people as cooperators and possibly also competitors.
Paco, based on our discussions these few days, what new would you bring to your students about understanding of lack, about the importance of morality, also once we accept that lack is always pressing us and challenging our moral action?
That lack is a reality and it's not necessarily horrible. It doesn't have to make you suffer. You can act to overcome that lack, but then beware that lack will reappear. I mean, I am hungry. I lack food. Okay, I obtain food. I am not hungry anymore, but I will be hungry again in a few hours or tomorrow. And even if we are so wealthy that we have food and it is available and it is very cheap, you will want something else. Because that's the way your brain works and that's the way evolution works. You have to keep pushing further and further and further. And again, since we live in society, you'll want more stuff, more things, or more prestige, more status, more friends, more fame, more whatever. And accept it, and I would say enjoy the ride and try to do as good as possible.
So there will not be a moment when you will be completely satisfied, or if it is such moment, it will not last too long, probably.
Not only that, yesterday someone was speaking in one of the asides about Robert Nozick's pleasure machine. If you are offered a pleasure machine, I offer you get connected to this machine. There you will feel pleasure all the time, like in the Matrix. No? I would say it's a trap. It's a trap. That does not exist because that machine is a machine that uses resources, that uses energy. So why would someone build that machine? In order to give you pleasure and that's it. Maybe to confuse you, maybe to have you as a slave, maybe to eliminate you as a competitor, but it's a trap. But
even if it was possible, would Paco be willing to be related to this machine?
Only if I could disconnect myself. I would never go, I'm forever and you cannot go back, because I would say, it's a trap, this is not possible.
But once in a day, would you do it? Or you prefer to...
We do that all the time. In small doses, when we take a drug, or a drink or something, or a stimulant, that's what we get. We forget the problems, we forget the lack. But the problem is that you can get addicted to too much satisfaction, to too much pleasure, and it hides the realities of life.
What are your wishes to our audience?
Advice? Sorry, you mean?
Advice or good wish?
I hope you are pro-freedom, because that's what we are.
Why freedom is important?
I say that freedom, we need rules to live in society so that we don't attack each other, so that we can coordinate, so that we can cooperate, and we can compete, but without violence. So freedom, when we say that we are liberals, classical liberals, free market defenders, libertarians, what we are saying is that we think freedom is the cornerstone of a social system, because it is the same of a system of rules that is based on, we say, freedom, private property, non-aggression. If you deny freedom, what you are denying is private property, so there is no property or everything is collective, like in the Soviet socialist communist system, or that aggression is permitted. Freedom is respecting other people's boundaries, other people's properties, and respecting their choices, being tolerant. Everybody is responsible for their actions, and others are tolerant as long as there is no interference, as long as there is no aggression. If there is an aggression and there is a victim, that has to be repaired. There has to be a compensation. This is the only system that really works, that promotes growth, development, and happiness. There's one last idea. People can restrict their own freedom voluntarily. And that's what we do via contracts. When we contract something, we are promising formally that we will do something that before we were not obligated to do. But now we say, okay, I accept this obligation, or I accept this prohibition. And that's how we build society more, by means of contract. So it's not only freedom, but with contracts, so that people can restrict the freedom the way they see fit. And if we do it, it's because we gain something for that contract. If I accept some cost, it's because you are giving me something else. So a labor contract, okay, I could go to the park every day or stay in bed, but I accept that I will go to work for you, your company, your factory, or whatever, 8 hours every day from Monday to Friday or whatever. But in exchange, you give me money, because you didn't want to give me money for nothing. So we use contracts because they are mutually beneficial. They are exchanges, but they are sustained exchanges, prolonged in time.
Today I gained a lot from you, so I owe you something.
You owe me one.
And I hope that our audience also enjoyed meeting Francisco Capella, Paco, founding member of the Juan de Marana Institute, and the Hesperides University, visiting us from Madrid. Thank you for watching. I'm Elena Leontjeva, the president of the Lithuanian Free Market Institute. And please come back to our podcast, Beyond Economics, and back again in 2 weeks' time.